So I bought Final Fantasy Crisis Core Reunion, and I bought it digitally, so I have it on the PS5, which is the one that I played first, and I have the PS4 version as well. So it was pretty much two journeys of Crisis Core ahead of me, and I'm not really complaining. It was a good game. I very much enjoyed it. Then we'll talk about the subject of this being sort of a remake. And I don't understand why it would need remade. All I understand is there is a lot of controversy around this game, and the developers use likeliness of other people, and some people will just stop the product from being ported. But luckily we got Reunion, and Crisis Core is on PS4, PS5 now. We can only hope that the remake Final Fantasy 13 and Tactics, I'm sure they will, because there's like 3 Final Fantasy 13 games and 3 Tactics games. But back on subject about platinum this game, I'll tell you this much: do not let the last trophy you get be the hard mode trophy, because this one has a locked cutscene, and if you don't have like a computer and streaming recording on your computer, you won't see your trophies pop up for completing the game. But beyond all the voice changes, the nostalgic in me, it took a lot of getting used to, because it was different voices. And then it has to say all this: it keeps the beautiful music, it keeps the fun gameplay, it makes it even funner. Actually, the controls were a lot more simpler and a lot more easy to do. So right here I had to get some miscellaneous trophies. Well, it's not completely unnecessary, but there's a lot of side quests in this, and in order to platinum the game, I have to complete every side quest near perfect. Well, yeah, because sometimes Square Enix will throw a trophy at you that normally you just wouldn't get unless you knew it was a trophy and you're aiming for it, which is why chapter select is usually important in video games. It allows you to be able to go back and complete some stuff that you might have missed. And that was a big thing in Final Fantasies. There is missable content and stuff like that. You would have to start a whole new game just to get. The summons were actually toned down. In the PSP version, they were a lot stronger, or a lot more visually impressive in my opinion. Some of the summons don't seem like they were touched, like Bahamut Fury or something like that. But Ifrit, when I seen Ifrit on the PSP, it looked real. Like, also with the materia fusion in this game is a little different than the original. So if you're looking at my guides for materia fusion in the old PSP version, the materia fusion works a little bit different. Mostly because Minerva can't really be farmed for 99 Phoenix Downs, and that's a pretty big bummer. But you can still have the same list of material you can get and fuse in a little bit of a different way. What you have to do now is pretty much save a lot of your ingredients that would raise the stat up by 1 point, and then you would have to farm like the easiest kind of stones to slowly raise your stat up to 100, and that was kind of a bummer. But like I said, going through the game, it was pretty much every side quest. And seeing all these people in Midgar, it really hyped me up that remake would be more explorable in Midgar. And I appreciate what Final Fantasy VII Remake is, but it would have been nice if we could get beyond what we got, because it was pretty much the story in a canon way. And what I would have liked is to see other sectors. Like, there is a point where we go into the upper plate of Sector 7 or something like that to see Jesse's mom, and that was pretty cool. But as a person that's played Final Fantasy VII, there's certain cutscenes that are going to be just on my playlist all the time. And it's not even really that big of a deal, but there's a cutscene with Genesis and Sephiroth that I really enjoy.
Well, it's all yours in any case.
The only reason why people have some gripe with this game is because some games aren't meant for a strong story, especially when the characters are preordained, like a prequel. The writer will always feel like he has to set up for the future when an original story is so much easier to come up with, because you can go and do whatever you want. With a sequel or a prequel or an equal, you still have to follow the rules, where original creativity is a lot different, because you can always change up and switch it around.
Looks like I gained a lot of trust. Well, I'll hold on to this materia then.
So I get a pretty important materia. There's the still materia.
The building.
And here we go with talking to Hojo, and Hojo has his eyes on Zack as a test specimen, but we don't really want to go and be a test subject. Because even in Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Hojo, when he found out Song was injured, he wanted to test on Song. And right here, it's a short little test, and there's more to it, but then this trophy right here, I had to just answer some questions very correctly. If you're going for a platinum on your first go, and you're not going for a new game, then certain trophies are always going to limit how you play. And it's usually this for games. The ones for the trophy is usually the best thing you could do. And that's why it's good, because the crafting of a game, not only are you worried about the lines that people say and all the combat situations, you have to make sure that so many scales point you to the right direction. Because if there was a trophy for dying for every type of enemy, it would be an unexciting adventure. But since there's trophies for outliving certain things, it makes for a challenging adventure. And this game scales very good. And in the end, you can be very powerful. You can break HP limit, you can break MP limit, you can break SP limit. You can be immune to all negative status effects. You can do all kinds of stuff with accessories on. It's pretty good. This is the part I was afraid of, because in the PSP, since my PSP was so small, I never got to see this on a large screen. And I think it holds true to a lot of this remake, this Final Fantasy VII Crisis Core Reunion. On a big screen, it's not that bad. Even the lightning dodges in Final Fantasy X. If you have a big enough screen, it's not that hard.
Let's go.
Because they made this game really just for a PSP. I don't think they even were like, maybe we can come out with a Vita and people can hook it up to their PS3. I don't even think they were there yet. They might have been, but I don't know. I saved at every chapter for a reason, and the reason of that is certain areas in the game will have certain conditions to play, and there's a mini game in most of them. Then there's missions completed, 25%. So I was saving every chapter in case I messed up in the long run, because if you don't play it exactly the way Platinum First Go is done, then you will have to go back to a chapter and start from there. So it was important that I saved progress throughout the entirety of the game. Like I said, this game does not have, well, I didn't say this, but I'm saying it now. This game doesn't have chapter select. It
Wow.
runs very straightforward and to the point.
Our goal is
The freedom that the missions give you to explore is pretty good, even though most of the time you're going to be walking against the walls and trying to sneak by some enemies, because the enemies in missions can be very, very brutal. But right here we get to quite a bit of ways. We have the fan clubs that we had to reunite. So at this point, I knew the dialogues for every character, and I knew how the story goes. So I wasn't really into the new voice acting that they introduced. I was more interested in seeing exactly how Materia Fusion is playing out, and after all these years, would it still hold as a good game? And I'm telling you, with an ending like Final Fantasy VII Crisis Core Reunion, or just the original Crisis Core, it's worth it. Anytime I want, I can fight the final boss, and I can see an ending that's just, in my eyes, legendary. Almost as painful as Tifa's pull-ups and sit-ups, Zacta's squats. Which I think that push-ups or squats will be Tifa's last challenge, and whatever in the trilogy part 3 of the remake. But that is very hard to do, in case you were wondering. Here I just had to make a stone, a piece of material for every type of stone that I had. Very worth it. As long as you're doing missions, you're gonna keep up with the game. Of course, with missions, you can't go too far because it's just too difficult. So, in this version, it's probably still good to run into this lady. This lady is the best NPC in the game. She will give you a potion for free. And what the potion does is give you auto life, which when you pass out in battle, this potion right here will resurrect you to full health. So do as many missions as you can in this building while she is active, and every time you get more missions, come back to her and do it more. I found that I end up not leveling up too much, but I leveled up quite a bit using the DMW, I think is what it is. It can level up materia too, and the best way to level up materia is the Moogle summon. It really does help. You can change mastered materia into SP, which is used for crafting. And since crafting is a little bit of a trouble in this game, I can ensure you that
Here we go.
overall the skills and spells stay the same, but since you don't have access to all of the ingredients to raise your stats, you're kind of stun locked into playing this version of Crisis Core a little bit different. So there's missions completed 75%, and I'm still in the Shinra building. But here we meet Sephiroth,
To Nibelheim.
and we're going to Nibelheim. Nibelheim is the point where you know you're not going back to the Shinra the Shinra headquarters, or Shinra HQ, as some people say it. So, yeah, chapter 6 or 7, you just gotta be a little bit on guard of how far you go. It just shows a little bit how Hojo is completely insane. Here we got Tifa and a cowgirl get up, I guess, doing the trails at Mount Nibble were difficult because Sephiroth and Cloud and Zack and Tifa, they all had trouble climbing that mountain.
Oh yeah.
Here we get to actually see
Looks like it's
the Shinra mansion, which had its own set of mystery and puzzle solving. But once we get out of there and we're finally free, there is a lot of trophies with just combat and stuff, but most of it is just directly story involved and side quests involved. There is moments where you can find the magic pot, for instance, or get certain DMWs, certain emotional impacts. If you're not using Moogle power or the material for Moogle enhancements, then another great way of leveling up is Cisne's materia, Lucky Stars. And what Lucky Stars means is you get more links up, and you got to fill all these up to 100%, which can be pretty difficult. So we have Zack the Sniper, and that was made by just, sniping every enemy. Here, I know that this trophy is missed by a lot of people, but there is easy ways to get to it, because if you know where the bad spots are and where the good spots are, you can easily get by and get the waterfall chaser trophy on your way out of, or on your way to Gongaga,
Where is Genesis?
which by the time Final Fantasy VII Remake comes out, then Cisne is actually in Gongaga. We find that in Final Fantasy VII Rebirth.
Dumb apples only grow in Benora.
Why is that?
Something.
Little time skip there. And we're doing certain missions in the last area of the game. I might mention that when you complete the game and you 100% the missions and stuff like that, you can easily go into your menu and switch the game from whatever mode you're playing into hard mode, and that will get you your last complete the game on hard mode trophy. You can actually just be on the last chapter here and switch whenever you want to hard mode, and it will switch for you, which is very handy. So again, I was just buying my way into getting oh, I died. What trophy did I get where I had to pass out? I think that Square Enix does this with some of their material. They started off with a little bit of hard trophies, and then when they remake and report, they usually end up making the game easier within time. Which isn't a bad thing, but still, if you look at day one patch for Final Fantasy X and Final Fantasy 15, the games are drastically harder, especially Final Fantasy 15. If you deleted all the DLC and you played the game and 100%ed it without any patch, you are a champion, because it took me a while. So here's where I got the DMW Master Trophy. I just have to look at it in order for it to appear, I believe. Yep, there we go. So there was only a little bit more trophies to get, so I'll just, go get them. And right here, I believe I'm fighting Minerva, which is the main boss of the game. Actually, she's the secret hidden boss that's way stronger than Genesis. Tell you the truth, I've seen soldiers in missions that were harder than Genesis, which Genesis is the main bad guy, and you will grow to dislike him just a little tiny bit. I like Genesis for one. I think he sports the Radiant Sword, which Lightning did in Lightning Returns. Radiant Sword is in some other Final Fantasies, but it's not oftenly used all the time. So here is my mission completionist. I did all the missions in the game. Now I just got the Genji Helm. But this was a good trophy. I'd say about a 7 out of 10 for difficulty. It's easier the more you know about the game. But other than that, I'll see y'all next video. You have a good day and good night.